I've always said that Filipino food is world-class, and people are starting to catch up to that idea. We have a history and culture that's so unique you can't find it anywhere else in the world, and probably some of the best produce on the planet. From tropical fruits, cacao, to globally trending root crops. We just need to pay closer attention and value what we have more. So let's explore our ingredients together through one of our most famous Filipino desserts. The Graham Float quietly became one of the country's most loved homemade desserts because it's easy to make and is quite affordable. But what makes it even more special is how you can customize it with the flavors of local ingredients from across the archipelago. This is our Graham Float tour. I'm gonna go around the Philippines looking for the best Filipino ingredients and turning them into the float we all grew up loving. Nobody actually invented the mango Graham float. Just like many Filipino dishes, it evolved and became what it is today. And that's what makes it so interesting. It started with the Americans in the early 1900s, graham crackers, condensed milk, the tradition of icebox cakes. But Filipinos already had their own version of it, crema de fruta. Sponge cake, custard, and a fruit mix. Chilled, layered, sliced. At some point, someone made it simpler. Swap the sponge cake for graham crackers. Use the best mangoes in the world instead of canned fruit. That's the Graham Mango Float. Not an invention, a simplification. But it didn't really take off until the 80s and the 90s when three things happened at the same time. Refrigerators became common in Filipino homes, canned cream became affordable enough to buy, and MY San Grahams became the cracker everyone used because it held its texture even after chilling. The recipe spread the way all great Filipino recipes spread. Kitchen to kitchen, fiesta to fiesta, every family with their own version. That's not just a popular dessert, that's a Filipino classic. We're in Lian, Batangas, right in the middle of their fiesta. Every June 24th, this whole town shuts down to celebrate San Juan Bautista, St. John the Baptist. It's one of the oldest parishes in the province. Dances, bands, lines, and lines of devotees. That's exactly the kind of homecoming Tita Lita comes back for. She's been in the US for 13 years now. She's a manufacturing technician at a biotech company. But every year, she flies back home to Lian for the fiesta. Part of it is family. Part of it is also timing. Her daughter's birthday actually falls on the same date as the fiesta, so it's two reasons to come home at once. And part of it is just staying close. She's tight with her extended family, tight with her husband's side too. It was actually her husband's sister who taught her how to make mango Graham float in the first place. So every year, she comes back, not just for the fiesta, but to reconnect to something deeper.
Hi!
Nice to meet you. And,
Happy fiesta! Thank you for having us over.
I'm so glad you're here.
So I heard this is something that you would also make in the US.
Yes.
Did they enjoy Graham floats?
Yes. Hindi sila nagsasawang kumain. Lagi siya, kailangan maglagay ka sa fridge, ko kuhanin nila lang doon. Hindi na sila magsasabi na, can I have this one? Basta makita mo na lang, tray na lang yung laman.
It's a great everyday dessert kasi it's so easy to put together, no? Tapos lahat ng ingredients you have it usually in your fridge in your house. So what makes yours special?
My own way, I put the 3 condensed and then all-purpose cream. Okay. And then of course the MY.
And your MY San Grahams.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So the way you do it is instead of beating
mango,
the cream to whip it, you just pour all the
pour over the by layers.
So it gives you like a really nice like soft layer.
Yeah.
Let's give that a try.
Yeah.
So the first bite of the day. I actually might prefer it like this, where it's not whipped. It almost gives you like a texture of like a tres leches, where it's like fully absorbed into the MY San Graham cracker.
Wow, thank you. You like it?
Tapos ang sarap yung mangga kasi it's like parang half frozen.
Ay, masarap talaga lalo pag mas malamig, mas masarap.
It gives you like an ice cream.
Gusto mo ubusin na lang natin dalawa to. Sarap eh.
What we just saw in Lian, you'll see in every home you visit. Everyone's got their own version of the float, and none of them is the right one. How you make it comes down to how you were fed growing up, where you're from, the places you've called home, whether that's where you grew up or somewhere far away as an adult. Tradition has always mattered more than technique here. I've talked to a lot of OFWs while making this show, and one thing they always say is that they miss Filipino ingredients. So, if we want to make the best mango Graham float, we need to start with the best mangoes in the country, and that means a flight to Guimaras. The Mangahan Festival happens every year to celebrate what the island does best, but underneath the fun, it's really the province celebrating its founding as an independent province and honoring a mango variety that's considered the sweetest in the world. But the festival will tell you that the island loves its mangoes. It can't tell you why the mangoes are this good. For that, we need to dig deeper. Rose Graisa runs Guimaras Wonder Farms. She started it back in 2001. These days, they're exporting mangoes all over the world, all the way to Switzerland.
Kaya kami nag-decide na dito kami sa Guimaras bumili ng lupa kasi maganda siya dahil maraming beach, pagkatapos maraming mga puno, tapos ang concentration nila talaga mango. So, nag-aral ako ng mga seminar at training sa Manila about mango. So, yun ang naging focus namin. Later on na lang lumabas na gusto ko na yung organic farming. Yung first class kasi 3 to 4 pieces ang 1 kilo. Tapos dapat flawless siya. Yung second class, makinis din. Kaso lang, 5 piraso sa 1 kilo. Oo, mas maliit siya ng kaunti. Tapos yung third class, tinatawag na super small kasi 6 na piraso na siya 1 kilo.
Guimaras Carabao mangoes became the first geographically indicated product in the whole Philippines, meaning legally, this specific variety can only be called Guimaras mango if it's actually grown here. They take it seriously too. No outside mangoes are allowed onto the island at all, just to make sure that there's zero cross-contamination with other varieties. But none of that happens without local government backing it up. Protecting a mango takes policy, not just pride.
Yung role ng center, actually we are more on research and development, so which means we generate technologies that would help our farmers improve their production and increase yung export quality ng fruits na pinoproduce nila. Isang area po na pinag-aralan namin is on the plant genetic resources on mango, where we identify and select yung mga mango trees na mayroong mga promising characteristics. May pinakamarami kaming number na National Seed Industry Council registered na strains ng Carabao mango. So dito sa Guimaras, we already have 11. All over the Philippines, we have around 17 na maganda yung genetic makeup ng mga mangga dito sa Guimaras. Yung bricks po, ito po yung unit of measurement to measure yung sugar content sa ating mga prutas or yung total soluble solids. So dito po sa Guimaras, lalong-lalo na po yung ating mga National Seed Industry Council registered strains ng Carabao mango. Bricks po niyan is 18-degree bricks up to 22.5-degree bricks. Yung pinakataas natin is 22.5, which is the Guimaras Super Galila. Isa po siya sa National Seed Industry Council registered strains ng Carabao mango na dito po matatagpuan sa Guimaras.
I'm actually really sad that I missed out on Guimaras. It has become one of those bucket list things to do in the Philippines. They've done so much right. When you look at agriculture in the Philippines, we have so much potential, but at the end of the day, the systems are what fail us. And what they did with the mangoes in Guimaras and making sure that only this type of species and variety is actually grown on their soil, preserving what they have in their ecosystem is so important in terms of how you add so much value to our Filipino ingredients. So here we have the best absolute Guimaras mango. See that G, letting you know exactly what you're having. And I actually haven't had one yet from this season, so I'm very excited to taste it. It's so good. Here's the thing about a great Graham float. The base has to be as committed to quality as the ingredient on top of it. It can't fall apart, it can't compete, it just has to hold cleanly, reliably every single time, and this is what I need here. I've actually been using MY San Grahams for the longest time. We use it in my gelato business, which is Cariton, which we'll talk about later as well. And it just gives you a consistent bite. And I think when people think Graham float in the Philippines, or mango Graham float specifically, they think MY San Grahams. It is definitely the tastiest and the most reliable that you can get out. For this one, we're gonna be using our honey Graham crackers. So we need 2 types of mangoes here.
We're gonna be cubing mangoes that we will be adding onto in each layer. And then we're gonna also be pureeing mangoes, which will be folded into our creamy condensed milk so that you get like a slightly yellowish shine to it, which is pretty cool. While that's going, we're gonna whip our cream. And then we're gonna whip that until almost double in size before we add anything else to it. And we're done. We're not looking for like really, really stiff peaks. So this is just condensed milk. You can add white sugar if you want. And then a little bit of our mango puree, just to add some acidity. Maybe a bit more of this. You want something that is visually stimulating, where you can see absolutely every layer. So we found these really cool boxes on an online store. And through this, I mean, it just makes the perfect kind of package if you want to give it as a gift. Even just at home, it makes it feel way more special, and you can get it in different sizes. This is where the quality and the reliability of the MY San Grahams is really important, because you want something that basically holds all this together. This dish is absolutely nothing without these Graham crackers. So this, as is, will go into the fridge for a couple hours until it kind of sets and solidifies. So here is a version of it that we did the other day, and this one is nice and set. And then we're gonna add this last layer, and then you're gonna go ahead and just add in your mango pieces. I like really chunky ones. I don't know about you guys, but that looks pretty delicious and cool to me. I would love to receive this, and it would stack perfectly in your fridge. You can make hundreds of these and it won't take too much space. This looks so cute. Let's try it. You want a little bit of everything. Now that is what a perfect bite looks like. That's so good. And look how clean that is. Honestly, this is probably one of the best mango Graham floats I've made, and that's probably because we're using the best mangoes as well as the best MY San Graham crackers. And the coolest thing about this dish, it's become so ingrained in the Filipino culture. And just like any dish or flavor that people really enjoy, it eventually gets transformed, which I think is the coolest thing. It gets transformed into different dishes, different formats, different businesses. And so when I was looking at this dish, and I have a business now called Cariton, which we do gelato with, we thought, we've actually been making mango Graham gelato for the longest time. And now that we're doing this episode, I have a few ideas on how else I want to kind of approach this. I'm going to show you how we make our bestseller mango Graham, which we've actually been using MY San Graham crackers for that this whole time. Cariton is a Filipino gelato concept which, funnily enough, started in Australia, and that's where I got involved. One of the coolest things was when I actually walked into Cariton in Melbourne, in the Chinatown store, I actually saw mango Graham as a flavor, and I was like, that's so weird. I had never considered mango Graham as a fully Filipino thing in a sense that it joined the ranks of your bilo-bilo, ginataan, mais con hielo, taho, halo-halo. So I didn't think mango Graham was there yet, but to see it front and center in a menu in Australia, in a Filipino gelato store, just kind of opened my eyes in terms of, okay, this is really, it's become kind of part of what we look for in desserts as Filipinos.
Pag mango float kasi, bukod dun sa simple siya, andun din yung bonding ng family pag ginagawa siya.
And then the recipe is always called for MY San Grahams?
Yes, actually. The quality of MY San is like very top-notch for me.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since I do some pastries, when I need some Grahams, I always use MY San.
Once the crackers get nice and toasty, they pick up this texture you can't fake. That's what goes into our fior di latte gelato, folded together with the mango sorbet.
I love the structure of MY San Graham crackers with your cream and with your fruit element. So how do we turn that in its head? By adding a different ingredient to the mix.
We have our
Freeze-dried strawberries,
then we have the
white chocolate,
white chocolate,
drizzle,
and then we have the MY graham crackers with the sugar
sugar, salt, butter.
and the butter. And then optional is our current quesong puti
Quesong puti
mascarpone
mousse.
mousse.
Yes.
I say we do soft serve, graham, soft
Soft
serve,
serve,
white chocolate,
then the strawberries.
freeze-dried, and then crumbled
Crumbled out.
graham on top. Yeah. Let's try that. And then we'll see if we need
This one.
that airiness or not, depending on what the result will be. Okay, go for it. I don't touch this, you do it. Ooh, showing off. I always tell people in Caraton, each time we do tastings, I never have breakfast. It's like the worst thing to do, because then it's just like pure diabetes. Let's try that. I like that. Let's try with this. I mean, we'll make that better. Yeah, that's a nice one right there. So this strawberry graham float will be available very, very soon. So watch out on our socials. Another one that we're really proud of is our ube. And that is because our ube is sourced from Bohol. And you have a beautiful kinampay, which personally I find is one of the best. And there's a lot being said about ube right now, right? So I want to show you exactly where it comes from and kind of understand also why this struggle in terms of supply and supply chain has been happening. One of the privileges we have as Filipinos is access to farms and agriculture, and visiting them will just give you so much more appreciation for the actual product that you want. We're currently in Bohol, and we're in the search for the best ube that we can find to make the best possible ube graham float. As a Boholano, was ube always parang present since you were a
Yeah,
kid?
makikita namin dito iba't ibang klaseng ube. Ngayon lang kasi parang umingay siya. Tapos may mga variety na parang inaano na. Pero dati, usually ginagamit namin doon, magawa kami ng ulam.
We drove 2 hours to the very north of Bohol to meet Jojo. Jojo's converted most of his farm by now to ube, and at this point he is aggressively expanding. But he's not just growing it to sell, he's trying to fix a local supply chain issue and starting that from the ground up. He produces ube sets and seedlings that other farmers can buy, plant, and eventually bring to the market themselves. But ube's popularity has exposed a bigger problem. Most farmers don't actually know what variety they're growing, and if you don't know that, how can we claim we're selling the best ube in the country?
Madami na kasi yung mga produkto ngayon na parang newly discovered ba. Mas gusto naming malaman ngayon kung ano ba talaga yung gusto ng
tao,
ng consumer, ng ng market. Yung hinahanap pa namin na kung meron sanang magsasabi o na yung karakter kasi ng isang ube hindi sama-sama sa isang lang.
Yeah, kasi
parang mga ganun.
Yung problema kung nasa Manila ako tapos sa market and I ask them, oh, what variety is this?
Before kasi iniisip namin pag kinampay, it's more on kulay yan eh.
Okay.
Yan.
Okay.
Isa daw tong typical na sign, characteristic ng
kinampay.
leaves na kinampay daw.
Okay.
Ito yung baligon-on. So magkaiba yung shape nila. Yung nagkahiwalay talaga yung nila.
I've seen powder, halaya, steamed and boiled.
What about yung wine? Nasubukan mo na yung wine?
I tried the wine, pero
para mas gusto ko kasi yung wine. Mas gusto ko yung wine.
could that be a problem also if lahat ng farmers multiplier, pero who's harvesting for processing?
Yung multiplier stage nasa mga 2 to 3 years lang yan eh. After that year wala na, dapat binta mo na.
So after
magkaroon na tayo ng pera diyan. Dapat 'yun na. Kasi hindi ka naman magsusurvive kung multiply ka ng multiply, wala ka namang entry ng income, lalo na may operation din yung farm.
Saan variety to?
Baliguno na variety to.
Oh, wow.
Sige lagi.
Andun
Kuan
na.
lagi. Meron na. Meron ta. Yan, malaki na.
Wow.
Lukatalig. Pero pag nag-harvest ka, dapat dry na siya.
These are all the varieties that you grow here.
Yeah,
right?
ito yung available natin dito sa farm. So ito yung tinatawag nilang baligonon,
Okay.
yung Bohol.
Ito medyo purple inside
Yeah,
also.
wow.
Okay.
Ito yung Buto.
Dami
May,
ito
may
sa...
dalawa yung shape ng
Sa Manila, dami ganito.
Buto tsaka ganito.
Ito, ano to?
Yung Buto.
Buto.
Oh, Buto.
I think we call this padihot sa Benguet.
Ito yung kinuha natin kanina. Yan,
Yan.
yung baligonon.
Baligonon, okay.
So ito yung pinakabagong. No, bibigyan mo natin ng ibang variety name to. Erwan variety.
Oh,
Ay,
whoa!
medyo puti siya. Baka mag-darker pa to pag siguro pag tamang-tama na yung ano niya, no?
So let's try these. So here we have the Buto. This is very potatoey in flavor. Let's try this one next. Interesting. Milder in flavor. Good. I'm okay at eating ube all day. It's super healthy anyways. I feel like given the yield, this would probably be the best for like sweeter applications. Can bite. So surprisingly, the least purple out of all of them. Not perfumey at all. Like we've had some padihot in Manila, those very perfumey. This one's quite neutral in flavor, but I love the texture. It's like almost like crunchy. And this is our new species. So Sir Jojo's mentioned that he was not sure what this is. This is the one, Jojo. This is the one you plant. So different. That's incredible. You get the pandan flavor. Call it Purple Rain. Are you a Prince fan? I hope that little segment taught you a little bit about how our agricultural system works and where we're struggling. The irony is ube is extremely popular around the world, yet we can't produce enough of it, even though we are the ones that kind of made it popular in dessert form. So today I'm going to show you how to make a really cool ube graham float. So one thing I've learned, you never really know what the color is going to be until you cut into it. Pretty good. You can also use a blender for this. So that goes in with first our evaporated milk. As it cooks down, you're gonna see it thickens, and we're gonna add at this point our condensed milk. I always add a little bit of salt to my halaya. And then finally, I have nothing against extracts, just to get that color that we all like. As you cook this down, it changes color, gets deeper, gets stickier, gets finer because you're constantly stirring it. Really important, since we are going to be mixing this with cream, is you need to cool everything down before using it. But this is absolutely perfect. Taste it before using it. I mean, that just tastes like my childhood.
Ube halaya is rich and creamy, so MY San Grahams gives it balance with its honey graham flavor and light crunch. It adds texture without overpowering the ube. Make sure to lay it on thick so you get those really satisfying textures and proportions. A graham float is a cold product. That means your business runs on logistics. How long does your float actually hold up in transit? At what point does the cream start to break? How far can you deliver before the product isn't good anymore? You need real answers to these questions, not just guesses. Know your shelf life, define your service area, the zone where the quality stays exactly where it should be, and stay within it.
Look at that.
I can't tell which one I like better, this one or the mango. I feel like every iteration we're gonna make is gonna be as good as the previous one. I just love here the texture of the pini pig with the buttered crushed grahams. Yum.
From an up-and-coming ingredient to one that's already locked its place in Filipino food, we're heading to Davao to find some of the best cacao in the country. Davao isn't just a big cacao region, it's the biggest. Over 80% of all cacao grown in the Philippines comes here. There are over 100 homegrown chocolate makers just based here alone. What comes out of the region is beans with real character, fruity, nutty, floral notes that chocolate makers overseas actively seek out. Davao cacao has already picked up international awards, and it's just getting started. The most Filipino way to consume that cacao is tablea, which came from Mexico through the galleon trade. Cacao came along with it, and the Philippines became the first country outside of the Americas to actually grow it. We took a Mexican staple and made it completely our own.
Okay, so this is not the full season, right?
Yeah, it's not a full.
When is the cacao usually at its biggest?
Usually it's in the per months, September, going to December.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when you have the farm in kind of full bloom and like
the full bloom. Yeah, into per month, something like. And also the orders also. Cacao is booming in that time, so at least hindi kami nagkakaroon ng problema or any problems with sa ating mga farmers.
How long does it usually take from like harvesting all the way to
Actually, it takes 2
processing
weeks.
like
It takes 2 weeks for the harvesting pa lang.
So that's the full
the full process.
Okay.
And of course, in processing the chocolate, it takes around 1 week, something like that.
Yeah.
But of course, with the help of our farmers also, our chocolate is really doing good naman.
Got it. I saw there's some sun drying, but there's also mechanical drying just
Yeah.
in case for the rainy season and stuff also.
That's why we were really prepared for that season so that hindi ma-stop yung ating mga production.
Yeah.
So, minimake sure naman namin na in the span of 1 week, we can create a lot of chocolate na yan.
Your grandfather
Yeah.
was the one who really liked agriculture.
Yeah, my grandfather is really who started the whole thing. To be
Okay,
honest.
so the brand was
Yeah.
was his brainchild.
So, masama-sama lang ako before sa kanya. So, doon nag-start. Nakita ko na parang, teka, ang dami pa lang pwede mangyari kung gagawa ng tsokolate or ng kakao. Welcome to the farm.
So this processing area, has it changed and evolved over the years?
Yeah, dati ano lang to, parang table lang siya, simple lang, tapos puro, hindi pa nga ganito itsura niyan before Wala pang mga machines, wala pang mga anything na naka-cover pa dito. It's
So
very
now
simple.
Now it's more efficient. And I mean, in terms of process, I mean, still this is the same processes everywhere, right?
Yeah,
It
it's the same process.
the fermenting, and then eventually the sun drying. So
sun drying.
traditionally, it's sun like this.
Saan talaga ginagamit?
And then if not, yung mechanical.
Oo, mechanical, yeah. Itis na siya dito.
Okay, yeah. So it's still not dry enough yet.
Yeah, it's not,
But this is where you already have, you already have the chocolate flavor.
diba? It's all organic.
Yeah. I think when people probably don't understand about chocolate is parang they think the fruit itself,
Oh,
but it really needs the fermentation to kind of
Fermentation
develop all
talaga
those
yung
flavors of chocolate.
nagpapasarap dyan.
Yeah. I think cacao is one of the coolest things that we grow in the Philippines. In Mindanao specifically, and the Visayas, you will have people skipping coffee in the morning and having sikwate, which I think is so cool with tablea. And it's not like a sweet, childhood drink. It's really something that adults kind of like. But cacao as a fruit is so cool because you can do so much with it. It's not just limited to the chocolate that's processed, but the shells can be used for something. In its different fermentation stages, you can create kind of vinegar as well with kind of like the liquids that come out during these fermentation stages. And just as a fruit itself is very different from what people expect. So you can try it fresh. And obviously, to eat this as a fruit would be tough because it doesn't have a lot of meat, but it has so much flavor. Think of it as a slightly more acidic guayabano with lots of kind of like citrus notes. And that outer meat pedicle is so important in the fermentation process because that's where the sugars come from. So that's what actually causes the fermentation. But it's actually so good just like this. I love it. Okay, so this is the sikwate.
Yeah, this is what.
Okay. How long does it usually take when you're mixing it?
Usually, iba umabot ng mga 20 minutes pa nga
Oh, wow. Okay.
Para mapinong-pino talaga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you get the nice texture, but
Nice
also
Yes.
fully dissolved, right? And then it gets like frothy, which is pretty cool.
But one thing that we love for sikwate kasi it's thick,
This is something you grew up drinking here
Every morning.
every morning.
Ito na.
tablea, one of my favorite Filipino ingredients. And as you've learned from the farm that we went to, it is something that is truly Filipino. For our Graham float, the idea was s'mores. I love s'mores, chocolate, marshmallow, beautiful Graham crackers, all in a convenient little package that is toasted on a live fire. It brings up so many childhood memories, and it's such a delicious bite of food. You're gonna start with your condensed milk in a pan. You don't have to grate this, but we're gonna go ahead and grate it. It'll just make it easier to dissolve. And then we're gonna be adding different types of chocolate here because all of them play a different purpose, right? Put that on the stove. Once that's nice and dissolved, we're gonna add our couverture chocolate. This should be pretty quick and something you can do off the fire. And then we're gonna add our cacao powder. This is fully melted. We are gonna loosen it up a little bit with milk. The milk will also help just cool everything down too. And then all this gets tossed in with our whipped cream. I'm gonna toss in 1/3 of our whipped cream in there. Set that aside. Now we're gonna make our MY San Graham crushed crumb. So we have some walnuts here that are toasted.
Cacao has a deep, slightly bitter flavor, so MY San Graham's adds the sweetness it needs without making it too heavy. Its honey Graham taste rounds out the cacao and gives each layer a satisfying bite. Especially with those marshmallows, using the crushed Grahams actually keeps everything from falling apart. Negosyo tip of the day. Your first 10 customers are probably already in your phone, so start there. Send it to family, to friends, to your group chats. Let them taste it, let them post it, let them talk about it. Word of mouth from people who actually know you beats any ad that you could run, and it's still the fastest way to get you real customers. And don't just take the order, take the feedback too. That's where you fine-tune your product, your pricing, your branding before you even try to scale.
Just to show you as well, you can do it in different formats if you want to. So this would be kind of like your more traditional float at home, a large format, and this would be something as, you know, give as a gift, but also like, I feel like sometimes with Filipino food, we tend to just make big things and it's just such a commitment. With the big one, quite easy. You can actually just use a torch and torch until your desired texture. So that is perfect as is. Now for our small one, bit more difficult, but what you can do is grab a spoon. Make sure you're holding the spoon with non-conductive material. You could also do it straight with a torch, but you just want to stay away from the plastic. I mean, as long as it's stainless steel, it's fine. Make sure you cool it down before pressing it out. Look at how cool that is, and it fits our label perfectly, which is super cool. When you are doing experiments like this, something that not necessarily has been tried, you probably won't find this recipe online. So it's really important to think about who your first customers are. That looks, I can't fit that in my mouth. The richness of the cacao with like that bounciness of the marshmallow. That perfect kind of like nutty crushed Graham crumb. This could be the best one yet. That's delicious.
For our last stop, we went with the most Filipino ingredient there is, coconuts. It's been one of our strongest industries for generations, and it shows up everywhere. Shoes, soap, food, all of it. It seems simple on the surface, but it runs deep in how we live. And it's not just one coconut either. Depending on the variety and depending on what stage of life it's in, you're getting a completely different flavor. Victor Esmeris runs his farm in Liliu, Laguna. He used to be an architect in Riyadh. He came home and turned his family's land into an agro-tourism spot. Part farm, part conservation, part place people come to just relax. He built almost everything here himself, and along the way, he came to understand how undervalued our coconuts really are, and how much more value we could be pulling out of them. He came home mainly making lambanog and selling coconuts. Then the nationwide lambanog scare happened during the pandemic, and producers like him had to stop making it entirely. So he pivoted and started making hand sanitizer instead, which honestly just proves the old name again, the tree of life.
What do you love so much about farming?
Because we are already producing here lambanog, and I have a lot of stock, around 20 drums that we don't know how to dispose it. So what I did, from hand sanitizer, I increased the alcohol content to 90%.
And this is it.
Yeah, and we got
Yeah.
and we got perfume.
80 proof.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very smooth.
You don't need anything outside.
Yeah.
You can produce it within the farm only.
So
You can
everything
produce
that's
it.
in here
Yeah.
is everything that's out here.
Beyond finding the best coconut, I wanted to pick up a little inspiration for the Graham Float too.
I think we are in Laguna, obviously. When you drive down here, Buko pie is something that is really prevalent and the province is totally known for it. We were talking to Sir Vic a while ago and he was mentioning how it's so important for agricultural communities to be able to, really create various added value products to their main farmed harvests. It's really important to kind of sustain their whole business. So that way, farmers are not necessarily just locked into whatever farm gate prices are or market prices are. So being able to create co-ops like here in Coco Ibasila, where they can have and train people into how to create value from their harvest, it is so important for the economy. And here, you're in Laguna, Buko pie makes a lot of sense. I actually really like that the form factor of it is actually in these muffin molds, so they're quite small, which is great, really, really great. Let's give it a try. I mean, that's everything you want it to taste like. That really thick, cooked down coconut meat mixture. Nice kind of like flaky crust that's there. Cooked just right. This one for me probably seems the most obvious, yet I really haven't seen much of it online. Maybe it's there, maybe I just haven't seen it, but I think combining the idea of buko pie and buko pandan is one, super cool. Putting those two things together and combining them with MY San graham crackers kind of makes sense. So it's kind of like a buko pie graham float. So we're gonna open this up. Damn it. Yeah. This part's a workout. So once you're good and everything is grated, we can go ahead and make the filling. A very easy way, which we're gonna do today, is just boil this, or simmer this rather, with some cream. If you want even more flavor, you actually leave this in cream or liquid or water overnight, and then you boil it, and then you blend it, and then you strain it. And that's how you extract the maximum flavor out of it. In our other pot here, we have some coconut cream, coconut water, added sweetness, condensed milk, a pinch of salt. I'm gonna warm that up, a little bit of white sugar, more salt. I actually really like the combination of, it's like when you make a sticky rice, a really good sticky rice should have some salty notes in there. So it just makes it feel way savory and sweeter. We're gonna go ahead and add in our buko strands. The idea here is to get it thick. Our pandan cream is pretty much good to go. All we gotta do now is blend it.
Once your hero product is solid and consistent, some customers are going to want a reason to come back for something new. Now, every region in this country has an ingredient that can become a new flavor. Build your menu around where those ingredients actually come from. People love knowing the why and the how behind what you made. That story paired with the crackers moms and dads already trust for their families and homepreneurs already trust for their business, that's the combination that works.
We got our whipped cream, we got our chilled pandan cream, and then we have our cooled down buko mixture here. So we're just gonna mix in our pandan cream into our whipped cream. What's cool here is this is a very natural looking pandan color.
The MY San Graham crackers gives us a little bit of a bite with a toasted Graham honey flavor, reminiscent of the best crumbly parts of the crust of a freshly made buko pie.
give this a try. Ooh, that one cut really well. I feel like I've eaten like 6 floats today. This is probably the float where there's the most moisture in terms of the cream, but the MY San graham crackers hold so well. I can't decide which one I like the most. They're all super delicious. I think definitely the mango, and I think the s'mores is really cheeky.
Going around the Philippines, what surprised me the most was how many different local ingredients could work in a graham float. Every place brought its own flavor, its own story, and a completely different take on the same dessert. Some were light and fresh, others were rich and intense, but MY San Grahams was our base for all of them. The familiar honey graham taste complemented each ingredient, while the texture gave every version the layers and bite you expect from a graham float. All of these ingredients are available wherever you are in the country, from supermarkets to palenques. And if we want to value them more, they need to show up more in the Filipino home, from traditional recipes to new modern takes. These graham floats are easy enough to make for the family, share with friends, or serve as a quick dessert on a busy weekday. You can recreate any of these versions we made, but I'd also encourage you to come up with your own, using whatever grows abundantly near you. Who knows, you might create something that becomes a new family favorite or even sparks a business idea. This trip proved that Filipino ingredients deserve to be celebrated and not just used. Every stop had someone fighting to protect what makes their produce good. The mango growers, the ube farmers, the cacao growers, Tito Vic with his coconuts. All of that is worth putting a spotlight on.